Welcome to CSP 383, Chapter 10, Instructional Content. In the last chapter, we talked about assessment, and we said that we have what we call functional assessment, and then we have alternate assessment. The alternate assessment is based on what Mississippi calls the extended curriculum framework. So what we look at is we have the state curriculum that has language arts, and it has math, and it has science. And in the extended curriculum, we're going to look at those same areas. And we're going to start by taking exactly what the state curriculum says for typical children. So in the regular state curriculum, you have a reading strand, and you have a competency that says uses word recognition and vocabulary. And then it has three clusters: concept of print, phonological awareness, word identification, and then you have competency 2, which is applying strategies and skills to comprehend and evaluate text, and then you have a reading strand that has 2 competencies: express, communicate, evaluate, and apply standards English to communicate. So you notice that the reading strand for typical children has, I think, 5 competencies, and the writing strand has, I think, 5 competencies. But what the state did was it looked at which of those competencies were absolutely 100% essential, and those are the ones that we use in the extended curriculum. So, looking at this first one, uses word recognition and vocabulary to communicate. And so they have listed here what the skill clusters are. So for instance, from the curriculum for typical children, it says the student locates, print, and interprets the meaning, the common symbols and signage and environmental print. And so what the state curriculum says is that we can do this as long as we have meaning. We don't necessarily have to have print to read. And that seems very odd. So let's go down here and see what they mean by the essence of print, the essence of reading. Okay, so here's what the state curriculum says. The broad definition of reading means that if we have a written passage, can we communicate to this child the essence or the meaning of the broad definition? So if the passage we're reading says Romeo and Juliet fell in love, then the typical child is going to listen and follow along with that text and come to that meaning. For a child with a significant disability, instead he may be listening and following along with pictures. So Romeo and Juliet danced and talked. Or he may be following with objects. Romeo and Juliet fell in love. Same idea there, but we're going to show him a heart. Or he may follow with tactile cues, where we actually give him a heart that he can feel on the paper. So here are some of the things the state says we can do in reading. We can condense information. We can shorten the text. We can present a synopsis. We can highlight. We can pair it with pictures. We can translate it to Braille. We can chunk it. We can rewrite it. For writing, we also have alternatives. We can use stamps. We can use pictures. We can use tactile clues. We can use voice output devices. We can put sentences in a different order. We can let them use computer programs. All of those are ways that you can adapt for writing. And then there are similar adaptations for math and similar adaptations for science. So how do we make this happen? Well, what we have is what's called a planning tool. So with this planning tool, we're going to choose the objectives that we're going to measure. We're going to develop the activities to measure those things. Then we're going to identify supports and adaptations and assistive technology. And then we're going to come up with a plan to actually teach and then assess these things. So the accommodations and modifications that we can do setting accommodations or modifications. So where the child sits, what kind of grouping he's in. Is he doing this by himself or with a peer? or with a group of people? Timing. Is he going to do this in the morning, in the afternoon? Is he going to get breaks? Presentation. Am I going to show him pictures to pair with print? Am I going to give him tactile things that he can feel while he's hearing the story? And then response. Can he do it in writing? Can he do it by motion? Can he do it by facial expression? All of these are accommodations. And then supports. In the supports, we ask 3 questions. How will the student access the instruction? How will he interact with the instruction and the materials? How will he demonstrate his knowledge, his skills, and his concepts? And so just as we looked at before, we can use picture symbols, tactile cues, color coding, stamps, manipulatives, calculator, large print, and many other examples. Another view of what curriculum is like for kids with severe disabilities is in your textbook. It's the older view, but it still is being used in many classrooms, and it's the idea of looking at critical skills, defining these as, if I don't do it, will somebody have to do it for me? And so we look at a functional curriculum, we look at independent living in the community, we look at communication skills, social interactions, academics, and transition. The principles that we use for instructional decision making, whether we're using the alternate curriculum, the extended curriculum, or whether we're using a functional curriculum, the first thing we're going to look at is criterion for ultimate functioning. Our first priority is, if we look 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what skills will this child need to be productive and independent in the setting that we anticipate him being in? The second one is quality of life criterion. What makes your life high quality? The fact that you're productive, the fact that you're independent, the fact that you have relationships, the fact that you have hobbies, you have things to take your time to, things to think about, things to enjoy. And so we want to make sure that those things are also built into this child's life. So not just functional skills in the things that I have to do in my life, but also things that will increase the quality of my life. And then age appropriateness criterion. We want kids to be able to do things that other kids the same age do. So going back to the stories of Colton that we've told, that Colton this year got to hit the first pitch in the tournament of the baseball team that he would have been on if he didn't have a disability. To do that, they had to practice with him, and they had to do hand over hand and partial participation. But it was important for the quality of his life to have that opportunity on the sports field. It was important to his parents and his brother and his sister for him to have that quality, and to his friends to have that. And then, but it also was an issue of age appropriateness. He's 11 years old. That's what 11-year-old boys do. Okay, and then here are the review questions. I am appending to your page. Your page will have this video link. It will also have the PowerPoint link, and on the PowerPoint, then you'll be able to access this slide specifically to study for your test.